Well, so my arch core is, I have someone with the injury. That's what I feel. And, I get up and I can come in here this week. Now when I can just have to like, I'm thinking this was something I did. New York this party.
She was like, you brought me to the desert. It's so hot.
So actually, we were so hot. How often was 102?
Oh my gosh.
You know, the day she arrived.
Yeah.
We were so hot we went to the movie, but it was really fun. It's called The Wild Program. It's based on a animation. It's definitely animated. Yeah.
That was
Very well animated.
Yeah.
It was a ton of fun. Yeah. I got it 2 years ago. Graduated from Tisch School, filmmaking. Graduated, and so okay, Mom, I can read all about this. You gotta come, and then the secret of power is
I'm sorry.
Still on my health plan for one more year, so
the sign that I was here on time was I saw David
entertain me for a week and get off.
Let's why don't we all get started?
Yeah.
Oh, this is reminiscent of teaching a first year class that very first day. You know, so welcome everybody. We have a pretty full agenda. And so I'm going to run through it as quickly as I can. A couple of things. One, I just want to reminisce 39 years ago, I began on this faculty. It's hard to believe that that time has passed so quickly. Another milestone is the Loma Prieta earthquake that occurred. How can this be, David? 35 years ago, where David and I shared my doorway, so we would be crushed by the rubble, and yeah, it's unbelievable. Actually, it's a miracle that we are both here today.
Yes, yes. Well, luckily, I was shielding you from the fallen folks, so you're welcome.
Exactly. And then I guess I want to take a moment to thank our staff for the hard work they put into this. Putting together this book of materials is a lot of work, and Brianna Meadows does a fabulous job along with the rest of the advancement staff. Yeah, absolutely. I also want to formally welcome new trustees. Excuse me. Barbara Diallo, Susan Fogarty, Aaron Poplar. Let's see, is it Jeff Roshan by any chance on the Zoom? Anyways, he'll. I'm sure we'll see him shortly. Third thing is there's actually a little bit of work to do during our meeting. If you see those, we'll do postcards as we go through the meeting. They'll be handed out, and just write a little note of thank you to our first time donor. And so with that, let's get to the business of the meeting. First of all, can I get a motion for the approval of the minutes of our last meeting in June? Oh, thank you, Kathy. A second. All right. Any discussion, corrections, additions to the minutes? Hearing none, those in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye or raise your hand if you're on Zoom. Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, fabulous. The minutes are approved. Let's see, we turn next to a report by our Chancellor and Dean. I took him to the woodshed recently and told him he's on a very short leash.
But I have an extra 5 minutes. We're starting early. And
That's
there's that 5 to 20 minute leeway in the back end as well.
All right.
Thank you, Leo, President Martinez. Leo has had just about every job at the college at one time or another. He was a student. He was a managing editor of UC Hastings Law Journal, or Hastings Law Journal. He's been a faculty member. He was general counsel for a time. He was dean for a time, academic dean for a time, teacher, scholar. So we're very lucky to have him now. I don't know if president is the highest level that you've reached, but it's great to have Leo with us in this position. I'll just go through a few things that sort of describe what I've been occupied with lately. Probably foremost and most important was hiring the wonderful person to my immediate left, Julia Jordan. She is our new Chief Advancement Officer. We used to call it the Chief Development Officer, but we're all about advancement, and Julia is the perfect person for that. So we're absolutely thrilled. She's now here. This is her 6th day. So you can expect her to be absolutely up to speed and know everything that's going on at the college. But I'm going to hand the microphone over to Julia so she can say hello and tell us a little bit about her background.
Perfect. Thank you, David. As David said, I am very quickly getting settled in here at UC San Francisco. I'm thrilled to be here. I've had a chance to meet about 25% of you, I think, between our event on Tuesday and last night. For those of you I haven't met, it's great to meet you today. I'm always available to you, and I know you all work very closely with my team. I think you've all seen my bio, so I won't spend too much time talking about my background, but I'm coming most immediately from Habitat for Humanity, Greater San Francisco, which is the local Habitat affiliate building in Marin, San Francisco, and San Mateo counties focused on affordable home ownership. And before that, I was at the Bay Area Discovery Museum in Sausalito for a decade, where I oversaw their campaign to build out their campus. I have a deep background in campaigns, obviously. I started my career in institutional fundraising and moved into individual after that. So I love working with donors. I love getting people involved with organizations and making our vision for the future possible. So I'm thrilled to be here and look forward to working with you.
Okay, Julie, welcome. Time, an opportunity to ask her any questions you have, and feel free during the Q&A to ask questions to me that I would be happy to hand off to Julia. All the difficult ones she gets, the easy ones, softballs I get. So just to let you know, we of course have a great entering class that came in this year. The orientation went incredibly well. We aim for 400 in the entering class. After a little bit of melt, we always expect to lose a few students who either get here and decide to defer, or life circumstances interfere with their beginning law school, either for family health emergencies or even individual personal health emergencies. So we have 392 students who are continuing through the fall. Absolutely a great class. They have the same LSAT score from the last couple of years, at a median of 160, and our GPA actually went up about half a point this year. So a very competitive class, and we're very excited to have them. They're very enthusiastic, maybe more than some past classes, a little bit more self-directed. The generation that we're facing today has, I think, different expectations about care and feeding, and so we do our best to feed and care for them, but at the same time we are trying to train them to be professionals, and I know that you all as partners and general counsels and other positions or judges are not necessarily as easy on early career professionals, and so we need to bring them from their undergraduate days, where the toughest thing was to find out where the bar was, or where the local party was, to true professional level of expertise. I will tell you that one of the challenges that we have, because we're surrounded by great law schools, is that sometimes our students decide to transfer out. When I first started back in 2016, one of the first conversations I had was with our Dean of Enrollment Management, who told me that the year before we had lost 48 students and a class of only 315 to transfer out. And we had to do something about it. June Sakamoto created the Honor Society, and her office really stepped up in important ways. But I also created what I call the Dean's Priority Fund, which I use for putting out fires in different areas. And one of the first uses of the Dean's Priority Fund was to create what we call retention scholarships, so that students who finish in the top 5, 10, 15, 20% of the class get merit-based scholarships for their 2 real years, with the obvious objective of keeping them here. Most students who transfer out do not get any financial aid or merit scholarships, and they get very minimal need-based scholarships from the schools they go to. So we're basically offering them a very good deal. We were able to immediately lower that number to about 18 to 20 year after year, even though our enrollment went up to 400. So we consider that a great success. This year, I think probably because of U.S. News and their ridiculous rating system that hurt us this year, we had a little larger group, about 34 transferred out. These are students that are making fundamentally bad decisions because they would mostly have their law school education paid for. Just to give you one example of really poor judgment, a student who left to go to Georgetown, she would have had her tuition almost fully paid through the retention scholarships. She was in the top 5% of the class. She is now paying $80,000 a year. Actually, her father's paying $80,000 a year to go to Georgetown. Her dream is to work in the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Northern District. Actually, I just saw Izzy Ramsey, U.S. Attorney for the Northern District, the other night. We hung out for a little bit. I know him well. I have his cell phone number. We meet with him every other week as part of the mayor's working group. One phone call would have gotten her an internship or an externship in the U.S. Attorney's Office. And another phone call would have gotten her a position there, and now she's struggling to figure out how to get back from Washington, D.C. to the Northern District. Completely irrational decision-making, but again, students get caught up in this idea of hierarchy and prestige. Again, I understand Harvard, Stanford, Yale, decisions are decisions, but to go to a place like Georgetown, when you're the top of our class, it absolutely is not going to help you whatsoever, and you're going to end up graduating with $150,000 to $200,000 in debt, especially if you don't have a father, in this case, who's going to pay for it. So that's part of the challenges. And I tell you that as foundation trustees, because that's an area that we really want to raise money for. I use my Dean's Priority money. It's all an open book. I use it for retention scholarships, admission scholarships, for public interest scholarships over the summer. We try to fund every single public interest scholarship over the summer. This year we funded over 150 of them. So these are students that themselves obtain essentially volunteer positions in nonprofits, DA offices, public defender offices, and then we give them what's now a $6,000 grant for living expenses over the summer. So it's a great program. And then we also use the money for bridge fellowships. But just this past year, I spent almost $1 million on retention scholarships to try to keep students here. They're at the top, and that's just straight from Dean's Priority and straight from the generosity of people in this room and the people that you engage with to bring them in, as well as our just absolutely incredible advancement team. So we really need to keep that going. And it also means bringing in great students to begin with, and those are factors that matter. Not just U.S. News is sort of crazy and they change the algorithm every year. It's impossible to keep up with it. I'm happy to talk about that a little bit more later. The bottom line, and this is the bottom line for me as the dean, is we're creating a great law school. We have great buildings, we have great students, we have fantastic faculty, great staff. And we will be recognized as one of the preeminent law schools in the country as we get our reputation and we get the news out about that. And that's going to take time. NYU has always been my model. to actually go back to the late 70s and 80s, it wasn't until the mid 90s that NYU was really recognized for what they had done back in the 80s to build out their campus, build housing, and bring in really extraordinary visiting scholars and faculty. So that's what we're aiming for. I'm playing the long game. It's not anything I can do in the very short term, but I think we've been very successful so far, and it's something that I think you all can be very proud of to be part of, and I'm very proud to work with you on those things. Alumni engagement, I just got back from a 2-week tour of Tokyo, Seoul, and Hawaii. I particularly want to call out Dan Vermillion. Dan, who was on the call, I guess. Oh, there he is. Hey, Dan. Dan and his law firm hosted a wonderful get-together. This was Chance has said to us, I think it may have been the first time that everybody who RSVP'd showed up at the event. We had over 30, 35 people at the event. The food was fantastic. The conversation was even better. It was just a really feel-good event. Prior to getting to Honolulu, I went to Tokyo, met with alumni, about 20 alumni. Setsuo Zawa was really hosting things in Tokyo. We met with partner universities there. We have foreign exchange programs. We have students who from UC Law who spend a semester in Tokyo, and it's just the remarkable thing about the alumni there, and it's alumni everywhere I go, how accomplished they are. They're all working at the top of their fields in I have to say, one of the great cities of the world. I just love Tokyo. It's like New York, well considered and well implemented. I grew up in New York. I love New York, but it was like everything in Tokyo had been thought through in a very civilized way, and I can't say that is the same for New York. We then went out to Seoul, and we also visited not only alumni and universities, but we visited the Japanese Supreme Court. Very interesting cultural differences. They wouldn't let us take any pictures in the Japanese Supreme Court. When we got to the Korean Supreme Court, they actually let us sit on the bench. So I was sitting in the Chief Justice's chair. We have great pictures from that we're happy to share. Again, absolutely wonderful alumni in Korea. Had a great event there. We have already a university partnership with Yonsei, and we met with their dean, and then we're trying to create a partnership with the great university at Seoul National University. And so we're having conversations about what that might look like. And of course, Hawaii is just a wonderful community of our alumni, and had great dinners with George and Cheryl Hetherington. Had a great dinner with Bert Kobayashi. Went out on Charlie Hunter's boat. Of course, that was an alumni engagement, as well as played golf with Charlie. So there are a lot of nice perks that go along with meeting the alumni around about in the world. Just a quick update. I'm sure David Seward can give us a little more detail. The campus buildings, other than the air conditioning in this building, it's a great view. This one was too cold, so we just gone the opposite way. I have to say, when I was in Tokyo and Seoul, they put the air conditioning at around 80 degrees. It was very hot in those cities when I was there. So I guess maybe we're adopting their approach to it. But 333 has just been a great building and doing really well. The 200 building, of course, we've cannibalized the top floor of the library and the lobby area, and it's functioning extremely well. The 198 building, we did have somebody broke one of the windows apparently today. Again, one of the challenges of the neighborhood is dealing with folks that are mentally unstable. We do what we can, Century Urban. It's like, I guess, 1 o'clock in the morning that this happened. So we are about 80% occupied. When I talk to students about their experience in 198, they absolutely love the apartments, the efficiency studios, 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms. But frankly, they say, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, it's a little bit scary, walking around the neighborhood. And so we continue to insist with the city and county that they step up their game. I think that they have the legal authority to do more than they've been doing. And I think that they're starting to see that way. This is obviously an election year, so Mayor Breed is acting in ways that she may or may not continue to do so. I hope so. She's reelected, but it's got to be a priority for the city. It's a priority for us and we'll keep working on that. Just a quick update on 100. Have divided the construction of 100 McAllister the Tower into two phases. Phase one is the seismic retrofit to the building. That work has already begun. As you'll recall, we got the $90 million grant from the state of California to support that seismic upgrade. And then phase two will be a complete renovation of the building, including, for those of you who have experienced the elevators in 100, there'll be brand new elevator banks and high-speed elevators. It'll basically be the 1929 facade with a 2025, 2026, 2027 interior. So it'll be absolutely gorgeous with some of the best views in the city. So again, yeah, we're doing what we can on our campus. The city needs to do what it can for the surrounding neighborhoods, but we want to be part of the neighborhood. We have the glass, windows in these buildings because we want to be open. You'll all remember the 198 building. It's kind of a concrete bunker. The windows were like this big, and they were 2 stories off the ground. And so we need to be part of this neighborhood, and we need to be part of the success. And it's not about gentrification. It's about engagement. It's about supporting the residents that are here. And also, as you know, there's a property on the backside of the tower on 201 Golden Gate that's owned by Local 2. That property, we have an option agreement. It just went through a CEQA review, so it's fully entitled now. And if we can get the capital, we'd be looking to build that out as workforce housing. I'm told I have a few more minutes. Just campus partnerships. The academic village is all about campus partnerships. UCSF is one of the cornerstones of our campus now. They occupy a third of the 198 building. So it's great to see folks running around in scrubs and the UCSF shuttle stops on our corner. Of course, we have this great partnership now with both UCSF and UCLA called the California Institute on Law, Neuroscience, and Education. It really demonstrates our interdisciplinary focus. We got $10 million from the state with UCSF and UCLA to kickstart that institute, and we want to continue building on that. We are in conversations with San Francisco State about their use of some of our space in 198. Of course, UC Davis's Graduate School of Management runs a Master's of Science program in Business Analytics, about 100 students, and you'll see them around today. We're in conversation with the University of California, San Diego. They, of course, don't have a law school, but they're very interested in law and policy. So Morris Ratner and I had a meeting with their provost to talk about opportunities to create pipelines from political science, but also certificate and joint degree programs with the business school, but also global policy and strategy, their GPS school. We have a 3+3 with Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo, and we have a 3+3 with Spelman, and we continue to build relationships with the HBCUs. And Mario Lopez, in fact, just went and did some visits at a number of HBCUs, and he was in Atlanta actually when the hurricane Helene hit. So with that, whatever time I have left, I'm happy to answer any questions. Deborah?
Easy question. What is the GPA that goes with the LSAT score to get in? Number 2.
I believe it's about 3.65. It's in that neighborhood, so it's pretty good.
Number 2, I have, out of my 15 students in the negotiation class here, I have 3 that are, I think they're foreign exchange students from the Netherlands and Norway for 5 months. Can you tell me about that program?
Yes, so we have, and actually we who visited Leiden, we have a foreign exchange program with a number of universities in Northern Europe, including Leiden University. So they are absolutely terrific students. They don't always take the LM program because of the cost of it. But yeah, it's been a program we've had probably for 30 years. It's been long standing.
You're just here for 5 months.
Yeah, they're just here for the semester. Yeah.
I just had one comment on the retention discussion. So I don't know how many people are aware of this, but in terms of law firm recruiting, there's been a drastic sea change in the timing of law school recruiting. So this year, 2L summer recruiting occurred at the beginning of the summer. So for my firm, which had 3 summer associate spots, we filled all of our spots before we even got to OCI in the fall. OCI, one of the OCI places we were going to come is here. But we had already filled our summer class with 3 UC Law students. So we decided to back out of the OCI process. Obviously, that is problematic for some of the students who are relying on the OCI process for job placement for 2L summer. But for a person who's transferring in the middle of the summer, they don't even get into the OCI process half the time at their new school. They certainly don't get into the 2L, the pre-OCI informal process because they're in the middle of transferring. So something else to tell kids if they're thinking about getting a job that will actually pay off those Georgetown loans.
Yeah, I was in a conversation with a partner, Paul Hastings, and he actually said that we kind of like hiring as associates those who transferred out, went to Berkeley from the top of the class at UC Law, because that shows that they have initiative and they're aggressive and blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, actually, you probably should not hire them because they have incredibly bad judgment.
Lateral, your future lateral out of your verb.
Yeah, right, exactly. So
But to your point, Sharon, I've heard the same thing. Some of the big downtown law firms are already 80% filled up before OCI even begins. Yeah. So I think it's something we should really look at to see if we need to change how we do things.
All right. Other questions?
So just one final statement in terms of my schedule going forward. I'm going to be in New York the week of, actually right after Election Day. And through that weekend. So I'm going to be setting up meetings in New York. I also actually will be in London a little bit in November. So if anybody knows that they want me to meet either in New York or London, let me know. And then I'm planning a pretty extensive schedule in the spring. I want to get to DC. I want to really have to spend more time in Southern California, LA, Orange County, and San Diego. So I may be reaching out to some of you, especially those who are not in the immediate Bay Area, to set up meetings and just have a chance to get around the country a little bit.
Any concern from the partners like, say, UCFS medical with regard to the feedback you're getting from the folks in the academia? In other words, are they feeding that back to their schools?
A little bit, yeah. So I think that there's still this sort of sense of the neighborhood is not stable. And so I think it affects our students, but it affects their students and trainees as well. And again, I think that they are very comfortable during the day and evening because of Urban Alchemy. And then we have posts, at every doorway. But I do think that, we have a subscription at the Orpheum and Golden Gate Theater. So, my wife and I are here pretty often. And you walk out at 10:30 at night and you're walking through crowds of people that are drinking and doing drugs and selling stolen goods. And the city, I think Brooke Jenkins actually understands the challenges and really wants to be very aggressive. And I think that until at least recently, she's been a little bit handcuffed, sorry for the pun, in terms of what she can do, in terms of whether curfew or something else that could be pretty aggressive. But we just, the Tenwa has always been gritty. Back in 1987, and it was gritty then. And I'm sure it was gritty when most of you were here, but it didn't feel dangerous. There wasn't sort of the sense of, concern there. And there was also not as much of the mentally ill population that is sort of walking in the middle of the street, yelling at the sky.
That really has changed a lot. When I spent my first year at Hastings, I lived on the Hyde building. The school had just bought this building and they had studios for students.
Right. Yeah.
And my mother was so worried, like, oh my God, my daughter's, in the middle of the Tenderloin in San Francisco. I told her, Mom, I'm safer here than I could be anywhere because there really was a community. I mean, every day I walked to school laden with my books, and the drunks, they knew who I was, and they knew, everybody. And they'd say hello to me, I'd say hello to them. I mean, there was a community, you didn't have a sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think it has changed, but.
That's right. Yeah.
All right, David, thank you so much. I'm amazed I actually do have a substantive president's report. The first is to recognize Board of Trustees who are on our honor roll, and they are the trustees who've given more than $7,500 in the past year. I'll go through the names. Joan Kassman, thank you very much. Jennifer Fung, Jennifer Hagel, Chris Holland, Mike Kelly, John Lynn, me, Scott Morris, Basil Plasteras, Rob Saul, and Roland Tellis. So thanks to you all. The second is a member recognition of one of our trustees, Scott Morris, who's gone over and above, actually over the last 15 years. And I know he doesn't want his full bio read, so I'll refer it to you in the materials. Very impressive bio. I will tell you one thing. I've been associated with the school a long time. I know how things work. I've been with the trustees for a long time. But one day, 5 or 6 years ago, Scott calls me, and he was doing one of the regular stewardship sorts of calls that we ask people to do. And he was thanking me for what I'd done. And it was, I'm cynical by this. I didn't need thanks, but Scott did it with such warmth, with such sincerity, and with such just intention that it's something I really remember. That's the kind of guy Scott is. He does, however, want me to encourage you to participate in his incentive plan to get people to do plant giving, and I urge you all to do what you can to support his efforts. So, Scott, thank you so much. Let's see.
Comment.
Sure.
Sure. So Scott and I have worked together as co-chair of Plan Giving for 10 years, maybe 12, and for goals and objectives since the committee started. And I have to tell you, I read through the accomplishments, and I had no idea about 2/3 of them, Scott. I mean, come on, buddy. You gotta be a little bit more upfront with your stuff.
I had to make something up.
No, but I mean, the Martin Luther King Jr. Award, I mean, the presidency of the Art Museum. I mean, this is real stuff. So anyway, Scott, I got to tell you, I don't know if I'm qualified to be the co-chair anymore.
I'm your
All right. Last item deals with committees and initiative membership. First of all, we have folded the UC law. That's U class. I'll do that. U class and academic engagement committee because we decided last time that it probably wasn't in our lane, that the Alumni Association was probably a better place there. Our focus is fundraising. And so to the extent that detracted us from our real mission, we thought it would be a more efficient use of all of our resources to do that. And so we encourage trustees to consider joining the stewardship committee, which is actively working on new projects that will be detailed in their upcoming report. And if you're unable to join the committee at this time, you can still communicate by volunteering for specific projects. Let's see. At the last meeting, we asked each board member to join a fundraising initiative. For those of you who have not yet made a selection, we defaulted you into the top 10 initiative. And next week, you'll receive a welcome email and instructions from Brianna. If that default selection doesn't work for you, just talk to either me or any member of the staff. And we realize that people have different strengths They have different time availability, and we want to work within those constraints. So not to worry if the top 10 initiative does not float your boat. Okay, we are happy to exploit you in any way that makes sense for you. And then finally, just a gentle reminder that each trustee is expected to either host an event or at least sponsor a cultivation event. And so, just keep that in mind. The 3 years passes in an instant. And so, unless there's any questions, I'll move on to really one of my favorite parts of our meetings. Okay. Now we have a couple of students. Actually, I was told one of you was not going to be here. Is that we're all here? Valeria and Millie.
Yes.
Please, the floor is yours. We love hearing what the students are up to.
I love being here. Thank you for inviting me. Good morning, everyone. My name is Millicent Wong. I am this year's UC Law Associated Student Body President. I am a 3L. Okay, thank you. It's okay. I project pretty well. But thank you. So I'm a 3L in UC Law Associated Students. I've been part of student government for 3 years. I'm also a current member of UC Law Journal, formerly HLJ. So I'm the executive technology editor. Born and raised in I'm going to introduce myself briefly, go into my remarks. I'm going to allow one of our guests, Magana is a 1L class representative who's joining us today, to introduce herself, and then have Valeria finish for us. So a little bit more about myself. I born and raised in Los Angeles, hoping to go back after graduation for a job, which I do not have yet. I went to New York University in Shanghai for college. In college, I interned for our alumna, Kamala Harris, in her Senate office, and worked in DC for an impact litigation nonprofit prior to law school. My parents are immigrant entrepreneurs who've instilled the value of service in me and the importance of giving back to their country, this country that gave them so much opportunity, and to their community. And so this is what has inspired me to want to go into public interest and to do so much service work and involvement on campus throughout my law school career. And now this community of students critically need your support. Given that the enrollment fee has already been approved to be increased by 7.5% for the 2025 year, students today and students tomorrow need your financial support now. The JD program will be raised by $3,704. The non-resident fee will be raised 16% by $1,198. The Master's in Studies in Master's in Legal Studies, the MSL tuition will be increased by $6,000, and the LLM tuition will be increased by $7,500. Today, JD students pay $28,000 per semester to the school, nearly $60,000 per year, without even factoring our cost of living in the city and rent. We're paying nearly $200,000 for our legal education. We recognize that the school must respond to rising expenses and slashed state funding. We recognize and we are informed of UC Law San Francisco's $3.9 million budget deficit heading into the next academic year. But we do not want any of you to miss the individual stories of students who will be affected by an increased cost of $3,700 per semester. Students who will have to increasingly turn away volunteer public interest opportunities, who will have to commute farther just to save on rent, who need to reserve their annual budget for groceries rather than paying into journal dues or buying a Bears ball ticket. because they are paying that much more every semester. They're balancing that margin every month for tuition and textbooks. So UC Law Associated Students echoes the Chancellor's Office request for your overall support. I encourage you to consider donating to various funds on campus as well. As, to be perfectly frank, funding for the retention scholarships does not affect 85% of the school, including myself. And UC Law Associated students also request your support for our professional development programming within student government. Valeria, our EVP, will go into depth, but we do need funding for headshots for our students. This is a very, very popular event every semester, every year, that helps students be that much more prepared for OCI and for recruitment. We're requesting funding for public interest career events because, again, when we're making the financial consideration, students are less likely to look towards public interest and public service events now, or careers now, because of the need to pay back our loans, as well as alumni who may not be able to afford to host 10 students for dinner. And we need funding to help students to attend Barrister's Ball because Law Prom is a highlight of the law school experience. And students are having to turn down a highlight of law school and something fun and community building because they have to save money for groceries. And we've greatly appreciated and we still need our trustee liaisons, Kelly and Tim, to work on supporting U-Class programming. Wow, we try to focus on our full-time responsibilities as full-time students. So thank you. I wanted to give an overall view of what the students are feeling right now, what our needs are. And I'll give the floor to Magana to speak a little bit about herself. Please speak with any of us at any time if you're curious about how the foundation can best support student needs. We would really love to talk to you further and be able to collaborate this coming year. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Is this on? I'm Meghana. I'm a 1L. Can confirm that orientation was great, super robust, especially, my friends at other law schools all said that their orientation programs didn't really prepare them for how much you are learning constantly in 1L year. And I truly did feel very prepared after that week. So just wanted to introduce myself a little bit. I'm originally from the East Coast. I'm from New Jersey. I went to UCLA for my undergrad and working a few years before law school. I worked in philanthropy and higher education, both on the East Coast and the West Coast. But I'm really excited to be here in the Bay Area and just here to learn. So nice to meet you all.
Quick question. Where in New Jersey?
Central Jersey. I know we can argue if that exists, but near Princeton.
I grew up in Englewood, so I'm very interested in New Jersey.
I would love to talk about it anytime. We actually have a good Jersey contingent in the 1L class, I found.
Hi, everyone. My name is Valeria, and I am this year's re-elected external vice president. So I'm super grateful to be able to represent students this year again. And I'm very happy to see so many familiar faces and so many people who have supported us in the last year and who continue to support us this year. Thank you, Millie, and thank you, Meghana, for being here and for being so eager and excited to contribute to students and to donate your Saturday morning to be here. So as Millie mentioned, I will elaborate on a few of our very important projects for professional development that we have fostered over the years and that continue to gain a lot of support from both alumni and from students, but we do need more support. And I will start first with the professional closet. So as some of you here in this room have provided donations, you have rehomed over 50 suits, ties, dresses, and blazers to 1Ls, 2Ls, and 3 years, which has helped them prepare for Zoom interviews, be ready for a networking opportunity, attend a Supreme Court event with our alumni and justices, and just be ready to give over a resume or a card and really build those connections. And so one of the things that we have started this year is, thanks to a generous collection donated by John Copel, is Copel's Tie Corner. So thank you so much, John. I never cease to be amazed at the great juju that your suits, your ties provide to our students, right? And students have also been encouraged this year to bring in their own clothes. So this was something that last year you provided ideas about, either having students donate financially or some other way to engage the students. And so this year, because vintage and clothes swapping are really popular, students have been motivated to bring in their own clothes. And so last week we launched during Squad, which is a former Beer on the Beach. Students brought in blazers, dresses, skirts, and it was really wholesome to see students bringing their own gently used items and be excited to receive new items, or just be happy to rehome their own clothes. So our goal remains to continue collecting donations. We will continue to collect donations through November 15th this year, which is right before we go into reading week. So you can reach out to me, email me, you can text me. I'm happy to provide my number and be available. I can swing by. I live in the Excelsior. I can swing by locally if you're here, pick up your clothes. Happy to do any of that, so that we can continue to dress our students for success. We also are working very hard to institute a professional closet space on campus. And so I'm currently working with student services to see if we can find a study room or someplace where we can rehome the closets that we have. So we currently have 3 racks in our U-Class office, which is locked to and only accessible to U-Class students. And so that means that students do rely on us putting out the clothes, having a pop-up to be able to access these items. And so if we have our own boutique style space, students will be able to drop in whenever they need a last minute jacket, a last minute Copel's Corner tie, or anything that they need to drop in their own clothes. And so we would like to encourage you to support, lend your voice, and speak with student services, Dean Fagman, whoever is in charge here, so that we can obtain David Stewart, so that we can obtain a professional closet on campus. Thank you. We also really need, this is super random, but we need jackets, specifically men's jackets and suits with long arms. And we have a lot of donations that for some reason, students with lankier arms, they're too short for them. They're cropped. We also need broad shoulder jackets, and we also need women's suits in all sizes. So if that speaks to you, if you have a friend, a colleague who has to, is ready for retirement, or maybe going on family leave and won't fit back into their clothes, please send them our way. We also, moving on to our professional headshots, as Millie mentioned, we have a lot of interest in professional headshots. These headshots end up on LinkedIn. Many of you have likely seen our photos. We have done a really great job using this space, the Deaf Colloquium, and also the outdoor sky deck to have City Hall as our background. I think it makes for really impactful pictures and really helps place in this place ourselves in the map of where we are. And so unfortunately, these headshots are extremely expensive. We've been able to partner with professional photographers and currently working on obtaining 2 headshot days in October later this month. And one of the individuals that we're looking at, she charges $3,500 for one day for nonprofits. So that's her nonprofit rate. I know her from my master's program, and she is happy to do a $2,500 discount so that we can limit it to $1,000, which is what we've been trying to do for the past year or two. And last year, we were extremely happy with the fact that Rob Sal here was able to sponsor one day of headshots. And so that really came a long way. And we are looking for at least 2 other trustees, or if you can help spread the word or find donations for sponsoring half a day, one day. Thank you.
Erin and I will each do $1,000 here today.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Well, these are all donations that are tax deductible because they go through our fund that Alumni Office has generously opened for us. And so that'll all be tax deductible. Thank you so much, Deborah and Erin. And so that'll be 2 events this year that we're covering. And we will host an additional 2 events in the spring. So if anyone else is interested in sponsoring, okay, amazing. John and Scott, thank you so much. Okay. Okay, and I welcome you also to join us on those days. I will connect with you, and then we can also photograph you. We did that with Rob last year. It was really fun. I'm sure you could use.
No marketing myself.
You can use a refreshed headshot. It'll be great. Thank you. Okay, and then our last project is the 6 at 6, which we're trying to rebrand a little bit on regarding the events that we're able to host. Thanks again to great ideas from Advancement Office and Meredith. And so we are planning on hosting not just dinners, but also coffee mornings, a brunch, hang out at someone's home, a hike, or a fun sports event. So if any of this sounds like something you would love to do, host 6 to 10 students, hang out, chat, network, develop more of like an intimate relationship with those students and be able to either connect them, say, I have a contact I can quickly send a text to and help you get an interview at the AUSA's office. That would go a really long way. And so, Deborah?
Sorry. What would be probably helpful for you is if you sent around an old-fashioned piece of paper now.
Okay.
And every one of us will sign up for a 6 at 6 in whatever style we have.
Perfect.
We're good on immediacy, and that's it.
Okay, great. Well, I will do that as soon as I wrap up. And just a reminder that these events are really critical. I mean, Deborah, you've hosted some in the past. Many of you have here as well. And our students really benefit from meeting you. And also, I think it's a great way for students to give back in the future because they can talk to trustees, they can talk to governors. They know that they can give back right in 5 to 10 years. Yes.
Well, I would add to it that when I do 6 at 6, you can just do it in your law office, get some maybe artisanal pizza or Tony's Pizza. I do scotch tasting. I always tell them to look around and that the other 6 students they should be networking with. So one time I had a student who just finished a really good summer internship and he passed it on to the 1L student. So the networking is actually with each other as well as with us.
Yeah, that is absolutely true.
Yeah, I volunteered in the past to do veterans, military veterans, some of whom are JAG Corps. But it's important that we know when and where we can use that.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you. So yes, that was actually my next point, the backgrounds that we are looking for. We do have several big laws, ECVC, and other just general big law because they have the money, as Millie mentioned, so they're able to host these events. But there are other backgrounds that we don't have covered, and so that we do need for. And so some of them include like general counsel for really anywhere. People in public interest, public service, people who would do plaintiffs litigation. I know, Millie, you are interested in like entertainment law, and last year somebody on the Board of Governors was able to host one of our very first Women in Entertainment Law events during spring break in Los Angeles. And so that was super popular. And so if you are here in the Bay Area, if you are remote elsewhere, I'm happy to work with you to coordinate during winter break, spring break, or really any other time. We have students traveling all the time. Hawaii, I would love to get those contacts in Hawaii because a lot of students go to Hawaii for spring break. And so it's a great opportunity for them to continue networking during those times. So I will pass along a sign-up sheet, and you can tell me what you're interested in, when you're interested in, and I will reach out to you. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And let me add my pitch. The school formerly known as Hastings did pretty well by all of us. We attended at a time that the cost was a fraction of what it is today. And one of the reasons I do what I do is to allow others, students, to have the same opportunity. So thanks a lot. All right, Liz, where are you?
Right.
There we go. Advancement.
I am going to pass to Julia first. Yes, so Liz is going to give most of the advancement update today because she's much more well-versed on our statistics as of today. But before Liz does go into that presentation, I did want to give you all a quick update on staffing on the advancement team. Some of you know this, but Tracy has decided to move on from UC Law San Francisco, which is, I know, a very big loss for UC Law, but Tracy is moving on to pursue her passion of supporting an organization called K9 Companions, which is based out of the North Bay and trains animal companions for people with a variety of people who are living with a variety of disabilities. So if we were going to lose Tracy to something, I can't imagine something better than K9 Companions. So Tracy will be with us through the Legacy Society event that is coming up on the 26th. And for a couple of days afterwards, it's looking like likely her last day will be October 29th. Tracy has been very gracious with her time and is willing to come back and help us onboard the next person that we find to fill Tracy's shoes. I understand them to be very big shoes. So thank you, Tracy, for everything. So one more big thank you to Tracy. Tracy has really built out this program and is leaving us in a very good place for someone else to come in. So we will very soon be starting the search for Tracy's replacement, and we'll be sure to keep you all updated on that. And with that, I'll pass it to Liz.
Okay, great. Well, that's tough to follow, but so I'll get into our report. As Julia mentioned, I just have a little bit more experience with the numbers at this point than she does. Thank you. And let's see. Right. So, and for the new trustees, my name is Liz Chance. If I haven't had the chance to meet you yet, I am the Director of Development here and work closely with our foundation board. So we are going to get into some fundraising results as well as a little bit of what we're working on in our office. And for those of you who are not new, this is nothing that you haven't seen from Eric in the past. It's similar numbers. Before I jump into that, actually, I'm seeing here, I do want to talk quickly about some of you. We've had discussions about this already, but we are going to be looking for firm sponsorships for coming board meetings. So due to the different budget cuts across the state, our budgets for board meetings, both trustees and governors, has gone down this year. And, we've realized that we can get a bit creative. We don't just need sponsors when we travel to Southern California and elsewhere. We could have sponsors when we are here as well. We don't have to have this meeting in this room every time. We can have it at a firm. And we don't have to have the Friday happy hour on the Sky Deck every time. We can also have that at a bar or a restaurant or a law firm. It has been a great partnership to work with different firms. I know Nick Yoke is on the call, and they're a firm down in Southern California 2 years ago, did a great job hosting the happy hour. And I think it's a good opportunity to, for marketing for your firm, if that's something they might be interested in, as I mentioned, whether it's in Southern California or up here. If you are one of those Southern California folks, just as a heads up, our next meeting is February 8th in Southern California. And we are looking right now to try to figure out exactly where in Southern California and looking for different firm sponsorship opportunities. So I wanted to mention that before getting into the report because it is important and I didn't want to forget. So now we have our fundraising numbers. So let's see. I can get this to work. Sorry. Okay. Excellent. So these right here are overall giving numbers over the last 10 years. Again, these numbers are not anything new that you all haven't seen before, but a couple of key things to point out here. In FY20 and in FY22, you will see spikes. Those are for some outlier gifts. So in FY20, we received a $5 million gift that really swayed our numbers. And in FY22, we received Mary Kay Cain's, a large portion of Mary Kay Cain's estate at just over $8 million. So that's why those numbers are significantly higher. Over the last 5 years, we have surpassed $10 million every year. So that's been a great progression. And the other thing I think that's important to note here is right around FY19 is where we shifted to a bigger focus on alumni engagement. So building out our alumni chapters. That's when Meredith's team really kind of grew out and started doing some more engagement opportunities. And so I think it's really important to note that the work that you all are doing as trustees, the top 10 outreach, the class agent program, hosting events like we talked about, leading chapters, that work is incredibly important. So if you look at the progress from FY19 minus those outlier gifts, that's what's helping us bring in these additional gifts. That's what's helping grow, the fundraising here. So it's really important, the work that you all are doing. And you can see, obviously, the impact of large gifts to the school. Sorry, this is very finicky. Here we are just looking at giving to the centers. So I know that when Meredith, for example, presented these numbers to the board of directors, they like to see it pulled out. So just a couple things to note about center giving. They do have unique donors. So they will have donors that are not alumni. They are friends of those programs, for lack of a better term. And they, for the most part, do their own fundraising work, whether they have their own staff to do it or they just kind of organically do their own fundraising work. They have recently, the different centers, started working with our office to also increase their engagement efforts. That's been a recent change.
Yes, just to be clear, so this is separate from the chart.
So this slide and the last one about the centers are what are the two pieces that make up our overall fundraising numbers. They're just pulled apart. So this is giving directly to the college without the centers included. So obviously in this one you can see, this typically does come from more alumni. And this is where the engagement work that you all are doing is really important. So again, pointing out that in FY22, it's spiked because we have that outlier gift. But otherwise, looking year over year, so if you look at FY21 to FY23, the difference is just under $100,000. The difference between FY23 and FY24 is right around $300,000. And the reason I point that out is the gifts that you all are making make a big difference. You know, $100,000 from one year to the next in the grand scheme of things, when you're looking at 7 or 8 million or 10 million, it makes a big difference, the giving that you all are doing and the work that you're doing to help others give back to the college as well. And the other thing I want to mention about FY24 is we have been down one fundraiser as well. So again, highlighting the work that you all are doing to help close that gap for us and engage additional alumni. Okay, so this is more of the same. We don't really need to get back into it. This is just the last 5 years as opposed to the last 10 years. But again, you can see the same trends that we've already discussed. Okay, so this is donor numbers. This is not dollars. This is the quantity of donors we have making gifts. As you can see, it is slightly trending down. That is a nationwide trend. What we're seeing in development work is there are, and we'll talk about this more on another slide, but there are fewer donors making larger gifts. It's just kind of the way it's going. Nationwide, excuse me, the average from last year to this year went from about 8% alumni giving to 6% alumni giving. And we are right in those averages as well. So overall, nationwide, you've seen more of a shift to engagement as opposed to focusing on the sheer quantity of donors. And we've put in a lot of work towards that as well. So this is to the centers, and then here are donor numbers to the college without the centers. And there are quite a few reasons as to why we're seeing donor numbers go down. Some of the contributors, higher amounts of student loans, higher cost of living. We're seeing more first generation students, which is amazing for diversity and the way we want to go. But what that means is there are fewer affluent families giving back to higher education like they were before. We also, I think it's important to note, different from the rest of the country, we don't have an undergrad to help build excitement. I know we have some Cal Bears in the room, so thank you for joining us instead of going to college game day this morning. But that is a really actually relevant and perfect example of the energy that an athletic program or an undergrad can generate. And we just don't have that. So again, not to harp on it too much, but the engagement work you all are doing is really, really valuable and important.
But that number is not concerning because it is the strategic objective to get deeper engagement.
Correct. Yeah. And again, even the overall the case organization, which is really what we look at fundraising and engagement nationwide, they have focused on measuring engagement numbers as opposed to donor numbers. All right, and this is, again, apologies. That is, again, both numbers just together. But what we are going to talk about in just a minute, and to your point, John, we are doing things here to help grow those donor numbers through engagement work. So now I want to talk about some of the things that we are doing to help bring in additional alumni, which will help translate to more donors in the future. So in addition to these things here, I want to mention we did have a mixer with Berkeley Law alumni here on the Sky Deck. We had about 75 people. It was a great event, a lot of mingling and networking from our alums and their alums. It was great. We have the Wine Club, which I think most of you heard Charles chat about last time. We are up to about 85 members of the Wine Club now. We had, actually, I want to give Charn a shout out as well. He's done some happy hours in New York, which has really helped as we are down one fundraiser. It's really helped bring in the local alumni there, bring them together. We have the Contra Costa Alum of the Year event next week. And then these are the three alumni chapters that we just started in the last month. So it's been a very busy month. Portland, we had about 25 people at that event. Scott Morris was instrumental in starting our Seattle chapter. We had between 15 and 20 people at that event. And then, as David mentioned, in Hawaii, we had 30 to 35 people at that event as well. So these are all ways that we are helping to bring the college to additional alumni, no matter where they are, recognizing that, just because they can't be here seeing this gorgeous campus that, Dean Fagman and David Stewart have been so instrumental in creating, they still can feel a part of everything that we're doing here. And something important to note, the postcards for first-time donors, the majority of those are actually from signing up for one of these events. So our RSVP quote-unquote fee, and Meredith Jagger, I think, has done a great job. She calls it a sticky RSVP. So essentially, we really just want to make sure that if people are saying they're going to come, they're going to come. And whatever they give, whether it's $10, $50, it goes all towards student scholarships. So that doesn't go towards paying for the event. It just helps bring them in as new donors. And then we continue to steward them that way and continue to have additional events with them. So overall, like I said, it's been a very busy summer, but it's been great. And we are seeing increased numbers across the country in terms of our alumni engagement. And we hope to continue on that trend. And a lot of you, both on Zoom and in this room, have been very instrumental in that. So we thank you very much for all the work that you've done. Let me make sure that that's it for me. And let's see, I think, Leo, if there's anything you want to add to the advancement part of the discussion.
I think you've done a pretty thorough job. Any quick questions? Last chance. John.
So Julia, I know you're new. Can you explain to me right now, what is the status of your staff? I keep hearing that we're down a recruiter. What does that mean?
Yes.
And who does what? I mean, it might be helpful.
Yes,
people.
so there
Do you
are,
have a minute?
I think we're on time.
Okay. Right? More 2 minutes.
we are.
Oh, we're 2 minutes over? All right, I'll do it very quickly. So there's 3 parts of the advancement team. The fundraisers, which has primarily been Liz right now. And then there's the alumni engagement part of our team. And then there's the development operations. Those are the people who you probably don't know that are on the back end processing all of our gifts, making sure everything happens. And then the stewardship side of things are sort of the key pieces. The roles that are not filled right now are one major gift officer, who was Robin. So that role has been open for about a year. David and I have been talking a lot about this. Our plan is to get that role posted very soon. That is somebody who will be really key, doing a lot of this work out in the communities, getting to know alumni, really talking to them about getting engaged. Obviously, that's a key part of my role as well. And David obviously is not on the advancement team, but does do a lot of our fundraising. So it's really just that role that is open right now. And that's what Liz has been talking about. And obviously my position has been open since I believe Eric left in April. Correct. So that's really been the 2 gaps, is the major gift officer since Robin left, and then the gap between Eric and me. So we're just really looking for one person. And then obviously at the end of the month, we will have one gap with Tracy.
Thank you. It helps me understand where we are.
And we purposely did not post the Robin Drysdale major gift officer position because we wanted Julie to have the ability to hire somebody that she wanted to work with. So we got that open on purpose because we wanted to fill the chief advancement position first.
And the major gift officer is a very critical role. That is someone who is out really getting to work with all of you, work with our alumni. So we really want to make sure we get somebody great. I have a lot of recent experience hiring for major gift officers. So I have a pretty good sense of what I think we need to be looking for.
And
we'll find someone great.
I want to remind Julia's been at this for all of a week, and I love how on top of it.
I was amazed, 6 days.
Yeah. There we go. Let's see, finance, Nick, let's see, where are you? Oh, there you are, Nick and David. So Nick, the floor is yours.
Can you all hear me okay? My internet and microphone apparently this week has been very bad. Can anyone hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Oh, okay. Well, as you know, I leave all the real decisions in this finance role to David Seward, and so I can't see him. But I'm sure, oh, I see his hand, and I'll let him give us an update on that.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you very much. The report items are no action items on the Finance Committee report. I do want to note that we are deep in the audit process, and per the operating agreement between the foundation and the college, the foundation trustees have a role in the audit process, and that is to sort of attend the meetings with the auditors, to the representation attended at the May kickoff meeting, and it's very, very important that the foundation, as a separate 501c3, exercise its prerogatives and participate in that audit process. Because again, while we are two separate legal entities, and so but we do one audit, the foundation is broken out as a separate entity. So I've invited Leo Martinez and Nick to participate in both our audit and finance committee subcommittee meeting, as well as the full board in October. If that is problematic scheduling wise, Leo, if you could identify an alternate, that'd be great. In terms of the finances, it's pretty stable in terms of the foundation, not much change in 2 fiscal years. That is shown in attachments A and B. On the investment side, we have been very, very fortunate. In fact, let me share my screen. Very fortunate by virtue of pretty good performance on the part of the University of California. That's what highlights some of the stuff. We elect to invest our funds with the University of California. However, there is an education code section that requires the college to conform to the quote unquote investment philosophy of the Regents of the University of California. Again, very favorable returns in the prior year. These are the multi-year returns. Last fiscal year, 12.1%. What I particularly enjoy are the average annualized returns. And there, over the past 15 years, the average annual thick and thin has been 7%. Very important in terms of our endowment management philosophies and policies. We do a total return policy. Our endowment payout is 4.35%. That's intended to A, support the good deeds that the endowment is intended to support, scholarships, professorships. B, protect the corpus, the fund, from the impact of inflationary pressures. And B, to provide some percentage left for growth and accretion of funds to build a bigger base over time, so that indeed then generates higher returns going forward. So that's been a plus. Again, I really would recommend, if you guys have the time, to take a look at the UC investment information. It's very interesting, at least for me, at least. And again, they have served us well over time. We are in some budget difficulty in the current year as to Millicent's observations, and she was spot on in terms of her relaying the impact of this on students. I mean, we've been very mindful of our student cost burden over the years. I'm very proud of the school's position in having been able to keep tuition flat for a decade. And I would argue, unfortunately, it's not the decade that Millicent inherited right here. That's the worst part. But really, for an institution of higher education, public education, to have flat fees for a decade is phenomenal. There's been choices and sort of sacrifices involved in that. But we have enjoyed strong support from the state of California that has allowed us to preserve that position. But that said, we have our compensation levels for faculty are well below those of the University of California. That is going to become a problem going forward. That is not sustainable. We had a banner year on faculty recruitment. 12 new faculty were brought in. We have lost some faculty to lateral transfers out. I think compensation is a variable in that. So those are needs that need to be addressed methodically and over time. So in the current year, we have a deficit. We started out 3.9 million. We were able to pick some low hanging fruit, get that down to 2.9. The board of directors has been very adamant and appropriately so on the need to have a balanced budget for financial sustainability. Our 5-year of the college's strategic plan, one of the fundamental strategic objectives is to maintain, preserve financial sustainability. You can't do that with a deficit operation. So the board has asked for a budget balancing plan over a 2-year period that will involve revenue and expense adjustments. And in our world, expenses are primarily salary and benefits. We don't have heavy allocations where we have programmatic flexibility. Don't do this program for a few years. That's not the way it works. So we need to be very thoughtful about how we spend money and where it all goes. So with that, we are buttressed by our investment position with the University of California. I will show that right here. This is our budget woes are not in any stretch of the imagination existential, but if they're not addressed with, they could rapidly become so. So here is our year-over-year change. Just something I feel really good about is some of that state support is manifested in the monies provided for the McAllister Tower seismic upgrade. So the state orders that famous paper check for $90 million. About a year and a half ago, we ran to Wells Fargo and deposited with some drama. We've invested it in the University of California investment pool, some in the cash pool. So as of June 30, 24, we had $44 million in their reservation cash pool and another $15.4 million in the working capital pool. And we pulled out $5 million to support cost to date. So it's still pretty much where I started out. And that's going to really help us with the tower. The tower is going to be a really tough project. Make no mistake, it's going to be unlocking Pandora's boxes. We just have to be prepared for that. But it is an incredibly important seismic upgrade at this point. It's a safety matter, and we will work to make it a complete building upgrade when we get deeper into our phase 2 fundraising. In the middle of the state of California. Also happy to report on that front. We have eligibility for historic tax credits. The National Park Service has approved our applications, and we have eligibility for up to $45 million in tax credits for a completed project. So if we fail to raise funds for phase 2, no tax credits, there's no completed project. But if we are successful in completing phase 2, the feds will offset that cost by 20%. Hence the $45 billion. So that is it in a nutshell. Happy to take any questions, and we do take the student cost burden very, very seriously here. We do have the lowest cost tuition in the state of California for higher ed for law. Our tuition, even with these increases, will average about 8% below that of the average of the other UC law schools in the current year. So I realize that's of little consolation to the person on the receiving end. So, yes.
Question on, I've forgotten what the plan was with the Great Hall and whether that has income ramifications.
Well, the Great Hall, it has more liability ramifications than income ramifications. But with the project, the National Park Service and SHPO, State Historic Preservation Office, had trepidation, had concerns about the removal of the vaulted ceiling and all of the asbestos-containing materials. So at the end of the project, if we are successful, we will have a historically preserved building. We will have a mothball. This is actually a term of art with the National Park Service. A mothball Great Hall that will have all the hazardous materials removed. It will be ready for development, for redevelopment, but it will effectively be gutted. And we will preserve the bishop's office, but the ceiling itself is not sapeable. And we cannot do work in that space without full hazmat. You can't do a seismic upgrade. You can't have construction crews in a building, in a space where they have to wear the moon suits all day long.
Would it make more sense to just tear it down and build something else there?
Well, the building itself, not
No,
possible.
the Great Hall part.
Well, effectively, we are. It will save the window frames, but effectively, we're gutting it out. We're removing all of the hazardous materials. The entire building hazardous materials will be removed as part of phase one.
Roof structure?
Gone. Well, keep in mind, Tom, above that roof structure, there are 9 stories of student housing.
Oh, that's right.
So it's not partial, but it's going to be removed.
All right. Oh, Rob, last question and we'll take our break. Can you explain how tax credit benefits us when we're a public institution and don't pay tax?
I tell you, it is so great to have lawyers. This is serious. I mean, in my world, in my other, other public.
You're working at the right place.
I'm working at the right place. So the board of directors was receptive to make this work. We have to establish a for-profit entity. That's all I had to say.
Okay, I understand.
We established
There will be a tax return.
There will be a tax return. We'll establish a for-profit entity. It will be controlled by UC Law, San Francisco. It will be controlled by Friends of UC Law, San Francisco, with a lease arrangement. It'll be for a 5-year hold period. And then that for-profit entity will fold up its tent and give the property back to us. And we will have unwound the hold period for the tax credit financing. The other really promising thing, there is a state tax credit program. It mirrors the federal, has never been used. It has been allegedly funded. I'm trying to find out for sure, but it would provide another 20%, another $40 million. It would pretty much blow out that fund, but we would be the perfect poster child for the rollout of a state historic tax credit program. That's what we're having meetings next week in Sacramento to see if that's in the cards.
Thank you for the explanation.
Thank you for the question.
Very helpful. All right, and before we take our break, I can arrange with Professor Heather Field to give us a seminar on the sale of tax credits if there's a demand for it. Okay, let's take a break and be back at 25 before the hour.
Hi, yeah, good to meet you too. Yeah.
Not many public sector entities would convey a public ad.
Yeah, it's a lot.
No, I wouldn't think about
I went to more things and I will start traveling next week. I'm gonna talk about like that. I've got my car here. I'll try it out there and then I'll always have it there.
Then you. I would like to have, my wife.
You see a lot of I'm kidding.
Not the last night.
But then we can see you answers. I just can't. I should just drop. I'm doing some, so there's like a conference.
Let me look at the schedule.
In Bangladesh, actually, there's a going there. I just want to keep the movement happening with people in Pakistan.
Obviously something yeah, so perhaps there's something we can do.
So
I'm so excited. Do you have one?
Honestly,
Can we use your headshot?
foundation doctors. If we could do like a joint fundraising kind of thing, we should get.
Thank you so much. I will definitely bring it. That's John. Okay, you might ask me separately. People understand the issue and are interested in talking about it, so that's a natural conversation. Yeah, so it's also exciting. So, I'll be back in November. Okay. And I'll be back for a month.
So I know Saba has its, or the NorCal chapter has its gala in like March timeframe. But they always do some on-site fundraising for an organization.
I can chat. I really believe in this mission. So just to happen is
We're up. Didn't realize it's so closely aligned.
And people ask me about other countries where we are working. Other organizations.
It was the panel.
And thank you so much. Yeah, I know, right? So we're, just trying.
So I went like this, like 4 times in front of Liz too.
And I, even though every bit was great.
Big person. Yeah. Big person. Alice.
Yes, so that's, yes.
So what's
Yeah.
But this is like.
Yes. Thank you.
This is Rutgers Sports. Yeah, pretty cats, ducks back. All right, let's, I guess,
Hi, yeah. Have it back up.
We have to give people 2-minute warning.
Exactly. Got a clue there. So, all right. To Association of Government Boards Conference. Very quick read.
Those are bylaws there, Tom, that you just like. Nice pamphlet for us.
Did they accept the latest, or we didn't know yet? The latest,
No, we haven't. I don't think we
where did everybody go? They,
Outside right now. I used to live in New York, living as an apartment. I was just saying a month ago, I moved to Boston.
That was.
Not as far as you're, yeah, not as far as where yeah. LL too.
Yeah, he was really good.
Yeah, it was all ages catch.
We don't have it. You can't do it with a paper.
There you go.
There we go.
You need to pick up.
Why don't we get started? I don't want to take us over at all. So coming up next is Tracy. I'll give an introduction to Tracy. She has two roles, actually. The first will be the easier one, the nominating and committee reports, and then she'll take the lead role in terms of discussing the bylaws. So we'll do them in turn. So Tracy, the floor is yours. Nominating committee.
Thank you. I'm already at the end of my time for nominating committee. So let me do a quick run through of the vacancies that are coming up. After I, by the way, say welcome to the new trustees. Barbara is on Zoom. I think Suzanne is in there in person. Is that you? I see. Yeah, Suzanne Fogarty. And Bob Freitas was going to come, but his flight was delayed, so he's going to join via Zoom as soon as he can. Rachel Ehrlich is in Japan. And I think Leo covered everybody else who's new. Jeff and Aaron. Yeah. All right. So welcome everybody. And thank you so much again for joining us. We're going to have a lot of vacancies coming up. We already have 5 seats that remained open from the last time, from some out of cycle stepping down, and just because we've had some openings for a while. I'm going to read the names of people there's just a few who are coming up on the end of their second term, who will either need to roll off for a year or quickly assume an officer or committee chair role. That is Paulina Do Amaral, Judy Boyette, who's currently a chair. So Judy, if you're staying in your chair position, you're good to go. Allison Cabrera, Veronica Callahan. Oh no, sorry, Veronica's at the end of her first term. Shay Dively, Jennifer Hagel, Harvey Long, and I think that's it. And then the ever power chairs, John Keppel and Scott Morris, we have to, given the bylaws thing that's coming up, I am now familiar with every single tiny little term. And as a technical matter, if you're staying a chair, you're supposed to be able to do 4 consecutive terms. So we'll have to go over, since you guys are ubiquitous, we'll have to go over if you need to technically roll off and go non-voting for a year while you, assuming you want to keep your chair jobs. So we can figure that out offline, but just a heads up. And we're going to have a significant number of seats available. We have already gotten some very good leads for next year. But please, you don't have to be on the nominating committee to send us people whom you think would be great for the board. All right, that'll be it for the nominating committee report.
Okay.
And we will go, unless anyone wants to discuss anything else. I was trying to be quick.
Yeah, Tracy, that's perfect. Okay, the second part of this is the approval of the amended bylaws. I'll say 2 things. One, nothing is easy. Okay. The second is we all owe a big debt of gratitude to Tracy, to Rob Saul, and to Tom Getty for their work in getting the bylaws to this state. Even our certificate of amended articles was difficult to do. And again, I can't underestimate all the hard work each of these 3 did on this. What I'll do is I'll begin. I realize that the bylaws are long. Tracy, I hope I'm not overstating things when I say that the changes are largely non-substantive and intended to bring us into compliance with current nonprofit corporate law. And so we'll have a introduction by Tracy. Rob and Tom, you can chime in. If there's truly extensive discussion, we'll stop and we'll solicit comments offline and then bring it back to you for a vote next meeting. If, on the other hand, you are largely cool with the current version, we can proceed to a vote then. So that's just a long way of telling you that we're not going to spend all day talking about this. So Tracy, the floor is yours.
Would you tell me, Leah, should I just share my screen and run through where there are substantive changes? Would that be helpful, or tell me how best to do it?
I think that would be very helpful, and if you can run through those pretty quickly, I realize that that might not be possible. So again, the floor is yours.
Here we go. Everyone see that?
Yeah.
Okay. Now let me get my face out of the way so I can scroll. Okay. Okay, what I've done here is I've just done quick highlights on where I've made changes, but often they are, even if it's just to come into compliance, just to give you some background, we used the same template for our original, the last version of the bylaws. It's by public, it's called Public Law Inc. Anyway, they kind of promulgate the model standard nonprofit bylaws. We used that originally. I brought everything kind of into line with that, with some changes as appropriate. So there was a couple of tax code issues that the general counsel's office pointed out versus 170C1 versus 501C3 and all that. I just changed that language a bit. That's a bit of a geeky kind of tax code issue, nothing controversial. Again, we talked about this at a couple of other meetings. Next one on directors is that we changed non-voting to honorary, and that is a bit of a technical matter because technically speaking, you're not a trustee. A trustee means a voting trustee, so to say non-voting trustee is not exactly accepted. So we changed it to honorary trustee, and that was the big change on that section, classes and qualifications. Everything else in this section is just setting out different sections and making it a bit more organized. Okay, this is for appointed trustees because we usually have to go through a bit of a process to send the appointments up to the board of directors. I added language in here that gives the board the ability to give its proxy to the chancellor and dean, so that he or maybe she one day can make appointments without us having to wait for the next board meeting. By fiat, it is just a hedge to say, if that's possible, if it's in compliance with the operating agreement and everything else, then that can be done. Everything else the same here. Again, honorary trustees. This did not make any substantive changes. The terms of service, it was just, I just broke it down to clarify and detail how we actually do it. And then what we also did was, instead of having weird terms, made it explicit that if somebody falls off of the board early, we can have somebody appointed, and then we can extend the term so that their official term would technically be maybe a 6 month longer or 6 months shorter, depending on what makes the most sense. Okay. All right, nothing. Again, the remote or in-person attendance, this is just updated to reflect actual current technology. So that it used to be that you were really expected to attend in person, and it is, since COVID, basically, it's always encouraged to be able to attend in person, but it counts if you attend remotely. And same thing with notice of meetings. This also comports, this also comports with, where did I just put that? Oh, sorry, there we go. This also comports with the model now, which is to say that it is appropriate to give notice of a meeting through the handout for example, that Brianna distributes, that says, here's our schedule of meetings. That counts as notice. And that's, again, commonly accepted practice. We didn't have it in there. This was one thing that was actually out of compliance that may be of interest to any corporate geeks. It actually had that a written vote was acceptable with a 2/3 majority, I think it said, but it actually, to have a written vote, it has to be unanimous. So that was a substantive change. And then removal for cause. Again, we had some language in here, but we've made it more explicit to say that there can be cause if a trustee misses a certain number of meetings within a year, a certain number within a term. And then we did have language in there about other things, but it also includes now language about not adhering to the qualification requirements. Okay. This also called out that no one gets paid, that it's a volunteer board. And also a little bit more explains the definition of an interested person. Again, all standard language. I moved the non-liability that was in there already. Okay, here, committees. These are the standing committees, which were already in there, but we did add the Goals and Objectives Committee and the Bylaws Committee. Again, we've talked about all of this, but you can take a look at the language and see if it sounds good. Officers, this up to 3 consecutive terms. It actually said 2, but I'm on my 3rd term as secretary, and I think Nick's on his 3rd term as treasurer. So I thought we would put ourselves in compliance by changing it to 3. It also comports with 2 regular terms. So because officer terms are 2 years each. We did not have anything about removal or resignation of officers. So I added that section. Filling vacancies. Again, nothing here, just fleshing out definitions. The conflicts of interest section is now a little bit more organized, a bit more robust, and again, mirrors the language, the standard language. The substance, again, is quite the same. Indemnity, same with conflicts. And I think that's it. I just moved this one down. It's very dry. I know. I'm sorry. But there was no way to do a red line for everybody to look at the changes because it's such a full reorganization of the document that it wouldn't make sense.
All right.
Does anyone have any questions about any section in particular?
Let's see, Rob, any comment?
I want to thank Tracy for all the extraordinary work she did on putting this together. I had tried to do a red line of the previous version of the bylaws, and it was a nightmare. Tracy took over and made it look nice. It would be nice when we approve this to actually have bylaws that properly identify us as a public benefit corporation rather than a member benefit corporation.
Yes, I had a few comments. First, I wanted to compliment Tracy and Rob and Leo for all the work in this. But one thing that was especially important to me was putting into the bylaws 2 new committees, the Goals and Objectives Committee and the Bylaws Committee, which, as you can see, is a task unto itself. But in the Goals and Objectives Committee, we are integrating right into the bylaws some obligations of that committee to set forth a proposed 2-year plan to be adopted by the Board of Trustees going forward. A plan with goals for the foundation. My hope in this, back when I was thinking about it and submitted it to our able volunteer co-chairs, John and Scott, was to develop some robust mechanism whereby we have the ability to consider, should we stay this size? Should we increase in size, decrease in size? Should we increase or decrease our giving obligations of the trustees? What specific goals do we have for the next 2 years? And then to put a 2-year plan together, submit that to the Board of Trustees and have us vote on it. So you can see in this paragraph, 815, that the Goals and Objectives Committee will come forth with a plan, probably to be at the summer June meeting, or if the June meeting has questions and concerns about it, to make amendments to that plan and submit it for approval at the following meeting. But to enable it to be a guide for the Board of Trustees for 2 years, that we have a sense of where we're going, who we are, what we want to do, and what changes we might want to consider. So I'm very high on getting this sort of implemented into the structure of the foundation, and that this goals and objectives committee is really central. I mean, the fundraising committee is the most important committee, but that this be central to where our fundraising goes as well. So if you have any questions on that, but I also, if we're not over time, ask John or Scott if they have any thoughts on that as well.
Well, sure. You know, one of the things we're doing, the main thing we're doing is looking at how the board does business and thinking about what we might do differently in order to get this business done either more efficiently or expand the business. For instance, to get more trustees involved in fundraising, since that, after all, is what we're here for. So just a note of not warning, caution, something like that. You know, we're starting out with our soft motions. You know, what the mission statement should be. Today, there's going to be a motion on what our values should be, but they turn more into hard motions a little bit later, like this winter. And if you've read the material that the committee submitted for the packet, you'll see that we have on deck a motion to increase the contributions of the trustees annually. There's a motion that would require the trustees to select, in other words, not just to be appointed, but to select a committee that they're going to be assigned to and work on in addition to the goals, in addition to what their normal responsibilities are as a trustee. So this is a little bit slow going in the beginning. We think it's going to be a little bit faster going as we get into the next 2 board meetings. But one point I want to really emphasize, and that is you'll see in the proposed motion regarding dues increase, that we're inviting everyone to talk to the committee. However, that's easy for you to do. Send an email, phone number, set up a meeting, because this isn't, we're not dictators. We're not intending to be dictators. What we're intending to do is think about how we can do a better job and bring the entire board along with us voluntarily. And the way to do that, in my opinion, is to have people speak up about what they're worried about or what they totally agree with, and so on and so forth.
What he said.
Okay, great. Anyway, to get us focused on the bylaws, any questions, comments regarding the bylaws?
Leo, do we need to submit this now to the board of directors for their approval under the?
Well, I guess so. We will approve it, and then we will forward to the board of directors for their. I don't know whether I'd call it approval or acquiescence, but clearly we're subject to the board of directors.
Leo, I think that the motion should reflect that we are approving it subject to the approval of the board of directors of the college.
Can I take that as a motion for the approval? Okay, can I get a second?
I second.
Okay, is there any discussion, any comments? Speak now or forever hold your peace until we amend this at some future date?
Every 2 years, like clockwork.
Okay, those in favor of adopting the bylaws subject to approval by the board of directors indicate by saying aye, or if you're on Zoom, raise your hand. Aye. Anybody opposed? Fabulous. I wish I had a bottle of champagne to drink against something. Again,
Thank you for your indulgence as I got through this, and Rob and Tom and Leo especially. Thank you.
And Tracy, thank you. Tom, thank you. And Rob, thank you. Thank you all. Okay, very quickly, goals and objectives. You said a lot of your piece, but anything further? You have an action item?
We flipped the coin and John lost.
I got the goals report. Well, we do have a short presentation on what the goals should be that you're going to be voting on at the end of this presentation. And Alexa and Tim have worked on that. Thank you for your work on that. Tim, I know you're on the screen. And Alexa, I think, is leading off, although I haven't coordinated with them how this is going to happen.
Yes, that's correct.
Great.
Let me just share. Okay, great. I can just share my screen. Okay. So the Goals and Objectives Committee worked really diligently to come up with a set of core values for, thank you, for how we should be thinking about our work on this body and what we want people to bring, what kind of energy, what kind of guiding principles we want to have for the work that we're doing here. So one of the benefits of having a set of core values, which we didn't have when I joined anyway, and so I remember feeling like when I came, I had a lot of questions about, what our role would be and, how we were to execute different things. And so the idea here is to have some clarity to help maintain the integrity of the group, to shape our culture. We want to make it easy to know what we want to do and what we don't want to do, because there are a lot of proposals that come up. I think having a set of core values makes it more clear what we want to do, and we want to set ourselves apart. I know there's some other boards that sometimes there are questions about the differences between them. And then, as I mentioned, as a new board member, I had questions, and I think it's helpful to give markers for new board members and for the public as to what this board is about and what our values are. So we, as a group, set about thinking about what we wanted the values to be and how we want to think about the foundation as a whole. And we came up with these, which are in your materials. I'm going to share now just a list of, or just some ideas about how we thought about each particular value and what we think goes into that. So for impact, we're acknowledging that we're a committee. The purpose is raising funds for learning, teaching, and scholarship that will have a substantial positive impact on the college and the legal community. For generosity, we want to promote a culture of generosity on this board and center generosity of spirit, financial support, and our service to the foundation and the college. Commitment. This one, I think universally, pretty much everyone on the committee felt strongly about this. We want to provide consistent and substantial support throughout the tenure as a trustee, and then to be responsive to the needs of the foundation. We want to have a spirit of collaboration because we believe collective insight and action produce a stronger community and impactful, high-quality outcomes. And then inclusion is to actively work to maintain an environment where all are welcome, valued, respected, and supported. And we want to actively seek trustees and partners reflecting the diversity of the community, including diversity of gender, geographic location, age, race, ethnicity, disability, and religion. And then innovation, which seems particularly fitting because we're in Silicon Valley. It's a part of a community whose purpose is legal education and knowledge. We value creativity, curiosity, and innovation. So that is how we were thinking about this. I'm going to actually share something. I'm going to share the Venn diagram that Tim put together now, which is how we should think about these as a group.
And so Tim, if you could speak to this beautiful diagram that you put together that show the overlapping of our various values, and then we'd like to take any questions.
Certainly. Good morning to everybody and good afternoon from Washington, D.C. I regret that I couldn't make it out there for this meeting. Let me offer a few comments of interpretation about the Venn diagram, beginning with commitment. Commitment, as you see in this diagram, is a value that reaches to the top and extends through many other values. The trusteeship of the UC Law Foundation begins with commitment, and commitment infuses all aspects of a trustee's involvement. Personal commitment to becoming a senior leader of the UC San Francisco law community, and commitment to realizing the values, goals, and objectives of the foundation. And the next value that you see at a high level is generosity, which is on the right side of the diagram in light blue. And the comment about generosity and its relationship is generosity of spirit, service, and financial support to the foundation is both fundamental as well as a multiplier for the foundation achieving collaborative, innovative, and inclusive impacts. And then you next go to inclusion, and you see that inclusion on this diagram is represented as inspiring each aspect of generosity and is foundational to the collaborative endeavors of the foundation to sustain commitment and generosity and realize the foundation's positive impacts on UC San Francisco law and the greater legal community. In terms of impact, the foundation achieves its positive impacts as a combination of as a consequence, I should say, of the combination of the innovative aggregate generosity and commitment of the body of trustees that cuts across collaboration and inclusion. Then in collaboration, collaboration simply combines with inclusion and generosity to enhance the foundation, realizing the fullest benefit of the commitment of trustees and the capability to produce the desired results. Finally, with respect to innovation, which is born of and furthered by inclusive exchange and consideration of our respective viewpoints and creative perspectives, helps the foundation realize its goals, objectives, and values, and is key to the foundation's success presently and in the future. So that's how I interpret, when I put this diagram together, that's how I interpreted the interrelationship of our values.
So there's one implied value in there, and that is flexibility, because we started out with a goal of 5 values and wound up with 6. So that's just so you know, that's everything the board does. You got to be flexible. Okay, the next order of business for this report is the motion to adopt those 6 values as the values of the board going forward. And if someone can make a motion. Thank you, Scott. Second? Thank you, Tom. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye if you're here and by raising your hand if you're on the screen. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, folks, thank you. Please keep in touch. The important thing is we want to hear from you if there's something you want to speak about. And if you have an idea about a change that we haven't talked about, all the better. All right, Sharon, fundraising, connecting, and giving committee. Sharon, actually, and Kathy.
Nick is on the.
Oh, Nick.
I guess so. We had a fabulous meeting. We've been thinking about all different ways that we can live up to what John said, fundraising, because that's what we're here for. So in the spirit of collaboration, I think we might each say a word or two about the particular piece of it that we're doing. Also want to mention, in the spirit of collaboration, I think each of us is on each other's fundraising initiative. So we all know what we're all doing and we all support what we're all doing. So that might be Alexa's point about the spirit of collaboration. Mostly we want to hit the sweet spot on the, on the diagram that Tim just showed us. Why don't we start with event planning, which is me, since I'm already talking. And we're thinking big and we're thinking small. So part of what we've been talking about, and I just had a wonderful chat on the balcony here, looking over at the Asian Art Museum and realizing what you can see from there of everything that's been accomplished recently. We want to celebrate that. And I think we're kind of just at the talking and planning and whatever stages, and I need to talk to everybody. I started with David, but I will spread out my fan. But I think we want to do something probably next year to celebrate what has been accomplished here and make sure that everybody, at least locally, knows about it and can celebrate it. We are also continuing to add fun little ideas and good tips on to our playbook for giving events. We welcome anyone new who wants to be part of it. And I think at this point, maybe we should talk about top 10.
I'm sorry, Kathy, he asked Dan if he could say a few words about what he did in Hawaii.
What a fantastic idea. Hi, Dan. Can you give us a few words on actually executing an event?
Yeah, sure. Well, we did it at my firm, so we have a pretty large conference room. The 30 or 35 people were easily accommodated in that space. Worked with Charles and Hannah at the I don't know exactly what their office is, but kind of alumni development. And so they had the list of alumni that we were able to reach out to. I think there's still some refinement of that list, so I'm trying to work with them and on getting fully updated contacts, because I know some people had said that their friends that were alumni didn't receive the invite, so we just got to kind of drill down and nail down that contact list. But even regardless, we still got a good turnout. Can't say enough for the support staff at my firm that helped coordinate the sushi cart that we had and all the food. We didn't have a fundraising or any kind of goal in mind. It was just to get people, excited and to get people together. Don't have any concrete plans for another event. We may or may not do one again before the end of the year, maybe in between Thanksgiving and the holidays. But I think it's building the momentum for getting people involved. And we might just do kind of happy hour, call them Pauhana here, where it's no host bar or something like that at a downtown location. People were talking about doing kind of like beach cleanups. There's an organization, 808 Cleanups, that does beach cleanups. They do cleanups in other natural areas. So kind of little fun events that take us into obviously Hawaii's beautiful environs. Then I was talking to Dean Fagman about next time he's out. One of my partners has his brother runs a kind of taro patch kalalo'i restoration. So getting out there, because that's a really fun event that we've done with our firm, where you're out in the mud and restoring these local kind of historical food sources. So a lot of different diversity of what we could do. But I know a lot of people everyone I talked to was really excited about having the event and looking forward to future events.
Thank you so much.
Rob, did you the top 10? Nick or oh, sorry.
I think Nick.
The top 10 has been moving along. We have some new members of it. Also, shout out to Rob Saul and Alexa Smith for working on it too. We're actually have a meeting towards the end of October, which we hope to get some real results of how we're doing and actually connecting with our individual lists of people. I found from my experience with reaching out to people on my list that it's been very receptive, and just the idea that these important alums that we have, that we care about hearing what they have to say, has already been a long way, and been rewarding just hearing that they like being reached out to and asked what they think about. And one of the main issues that I've been bringing up that I'm already identifying is once we get somebody anchored in, how to off hook them to the school to continue to be a part of it. And so we're still trying to work with maybe different parts of the school, such as the Board of Governors, on how to bring these, not only connect with these people, but to keep them in and to keep them involved. So I know that Leo runs a tight ship with in terms of timing. So that's all I have to say, unless Rob or Alexa have anything to add.
The only thing that I would add is that we now have an increased size in the top 10 group. And for those of you who are not familiar with it, the advancement staff will mine the database of alumni for those who are perceived to have high capacity and low involvement. And it's our job to reach out to those and attempt to reconnect them to the college. So we'll have the opportunity to talk to all of the new members on October 30, and look forward to talking to you then.
And then I can give a little bit of an update on the class agent program, but I will start by tacking on to the events discussion. So I've done a couple events in New York. I'm not in New York. I'm normally here in San Francisco, but I traveled to New York a fair amount. So what struck me is how easy it is to plan an event, especially if you're at a firm. And there's almost nothing that I had to do in terms of putting an event together. I relied on my firm staff, or I roped other alumni in the New York area into sponsoring, and they relied on their staff to actually do the administrative part in conjunction with Charles and Hannah in the advancement office. And like Dan was saying, the primary goal of these events was just to get people together, but the long range goal is for them to feel a sense of involvement in the school, as well as forming a network among themselves. And in New York, that has kind of fallen by the wayside through COVID. I think there was kind of a gap in terms of what we were doing there. So the two areas that I've kind of taken on interest in are New York and DC. DC because my son's out there for college now, so I'm going to be going there anyway. And I came from there before coming back out here. So all that to say, for those of you that are looking for a way to get involved in the fundraising committee, if you aren't looking to get 10 strangers to talk to, the events one is relatively easy to do and set up. And we have many resources in the advancement office or among our other trustees or alumni to help you kind of plan an event that is more to your liking. Now, moving to the class agent program. So I think in the statistics that Liz had put together for her presentation, you saw that there was kind of a slight decline in the number of alumni that are actually donating. And one of the goals of the class agent program was to do more outreach to people from other students that were, or other alums that were in their law school class to try to get them involved in fundraising. And, you know, the initial outreach from the class agents does not really ask for money. I mean, it obviously gives them the opportunity to donate, but it more informs alums about what's going on at the school and different ways that they can get involved. So that communication has been periodic, and you know, people have reached back out to us. I think part of what it has shown us is that a lot of our contact lists need updating, and I think some of the event planning efforts have also shown us that. So we're working on that. We have someone on staff now to help us with that. But the this is a long-term program, right? So you can't reach out to someone in one email and then in the second email say, hey, how much do you want to give? This is really about cultivating a sense of community. So that effort is ongoing. We have, and I think Charles and Liz have done some of this, and Brianna on the call have done a lot of the legwork here in getting particular agents for each class. I think we have the more recent classes are pretty well filled out. We still have some gaps in the older classes, but we can send that chart is actually in your materials. So if you are interested in potentially being a class agent or helping your class's agent, if there's one already assigned, we're always looking for people to join in that effort.
Are these the managers for the agents?
The people in the chart, so the ones in the boxes are the agents themselves for each of the class years. And then at the top of that, there is a manager for each set of 5 class years.
All right. Any comments, questions? Right, John, Kathy, and Nick, thank you so much. Nice overview. Let's see, a stewardship committee, Joan, I think you're carrying the load by yourself.
I think I am carrying, maybe have a mic so people can hear. I don't know. Is it on? It's on the top here. Uh-huh. There we go. That working? So, hi, everyone. So the stewardship committee, I really see that as an adjunct and certainly connected with our finance committee work because people need to be thanked. We need to follow up on those who we bring into our ranks and who recognize all the value of giving back to their law school. I always look at really the richness of and the magnitude of the people who we can reach out to, recognizing what a large law school Hastings was for so many years. And the great support we had from the state of California, which meant that those of us, particularly in the past years when the law school was so huge, didn't go to law school being told or being asked the minute we came on campus to think about giving back. So we do have to cultivate that notion among our vast universe of Hastings alums, or UC Law, San Francisco alums that we need to give back. So what is the stewardship committee doing? You've heard both from our president, Leo, and from Liz that we have since July a large number of first-time donors. And that is to be commended because as we heard from Liz, we have a handful, it appears, of pretty devoted givers who over time are giving more. But what we really need to do is get more people, get first-time donors. So we have a postcard here that I would hope people will help me sign, and we'll just get them in the mail. I just wanted to point out, so if people can look through these, see if you know anybody, quite a few from Hawaii. It looks like our recent events were very helpful in bringing in first-time donors, which is really what we want to do. And now we need to get our hooks into them. So I wasn't sure how to do this. I'd like different people to say thank you and sign your name or whatever. There's not a lot of room, but there is some. You need to reserve over on, this left side for the post office. So whatever you can fit in, please do. And should I leave these postcards with you, Liz? They're a little, I'm worried about the pen. Please don't use anything that has an ink that will smear because this is a kind of paper that will not take well to anything but probably a very old-fashioned dry pen. So if you would help me today get these out, that might be a step in keeping those who have found in the goodness of their heart to give for a first time, keep them in our ranks. You will find at your place a wrapped token. Many haven't opened it, but what we have is a spoon, a bamboo wooden spoon with our new logo, UC Law San Francisco. Very light, won't cost much to put in the mail. Something that everyone can use and have out and remember, my law school. So thank you, David, for reminding me. This would be a good way to also help with our branding. We will get this out to all of the board members, but most importantly, I really wanted to find something that we can send out to donors. Not just to board members, but to donors, to people who have been giving to UC Law San Francisco, to remind them that we appreciate them. Everyone likes to receive a postcard, but to receive a gift unsolicited, to have a surprise, I think that really touches in a very different way. To tell you the truth, these spoons cost $8. And then once we put a little bit of engraving on and putting them in the mail, I mean, we're less than $20 to say thank you to our major donors. So I will be working with the office at the end of the year to decide, what level, what group we should be sending these out to. We actually did order these in bulk to get a good rate. So we will have about 85 spoons already that will be engraved and will be ready to go out, and we'll try to figure out to whom they should go. And I'll have the help of the office to do that. Teresa, my partner in crime on this committee, my co-chair, is not with us today. I thought she was going to at least join us remotely. She and I have been talking for a year about the stewardship committee doing something to recognize and appreciate our adjunct professors. I think that there are many people who give in that way to the school. It's invaluable, and I have a sense that perhaps they are a forgotten component of our community. So we will this year try to figure out something to do as a matter of stewardship to say thank you to that group. And then finally, there are organized phone calling that is going on, and I will
Peter Bogarts.
rely on our development staff to help us if there are get people to call and say thank you. We've heard already in this meeting how impactful that can be to receive a call from someone when they're not asking for money and they are just saying thank you. And we would like our committee and members of our committee to help in that way. And I know there are efforts going on. But I want to thank Shay and I want to thank Barbara, new members of our committee who did join me in a meeting that was organized by our staff. We will have more meetings and we welcome ideas. But I do think stewardship is an area which requires and warrants our attention. And we intend to do that this year.
All right, thank you, Joe. Any comments, questions?
I have a comment. I agree. I think stewardship is really important. I really especially like the idea of the postcards, having people sign them. I think getting a handwritten note goes a long way with people. You'd be surprised how many people actually remember that, whether or not they even respond to you. So I agree, and I think it's great work.
Well, I will have these out. I mean, I got them from Liz at the beginning of the meeting and I looked through them and then thought, how in the course of a meeting do you get people to look at addressees and determine if they know them and then get them signed? But I would really appreciate it if everyone signed 5, we would have it done. So I will put them on the back. Yes, Tom.
Where will they be?
Well, I was gonna give them to Liz. Now near Liz is a cup of some pens that I think will work well and others that may not. I'm really worried about the paper here. And there's nothing worse than receiving a postcard that's all smeared blue. So I think that there are some pens back there with this that will be helpful. Yes.
So are we supposed to just sign our names or put Board of Trustees?
What do you think? I hadn't,
Board of
Board of Trustees or foundation or
Maybe just trustee,
You know how
your
much.
name and trustee.
you don't have a lot of room.
Yeah.
Because it already says behalf of the UC as a foundation, so like we can.
So here's what the
I
card
just read your
said,
name
and
here.
we really haven't, this card mentioned something that is very exciting to me that we haven't mentioned yet today. But it says, welcome to our community of dedicated supporters. Your generosity enhances the law school experience of our students and brings the academic village to life. On behalf of UC Law San Francisco Foundation, thank you. So Deborah, it does say foundation and just say trustee. You could maybe offer your year. I don't know if that would be interesting to anybody.
I just also want to add, don't feel like you have to write really anything more than just the words thank you and your name. I mean, if you don't have to write a note even, just the fact that it's handwritten and signed really
Makes it personal.
Yeah.
It's a personal touch.
Yeah.
I'd just like to make a comment too, that I watched a webinar that was led by, the speaker was the head of the South Africa. And they had done some kind of survey, I don't know if they did or they were just sharing the results of the survey. But the results were that they had polled some donors, and 60% of the donors said that they would give more if they had been thanked by a trustee.
Wow.
So it is really impactful for the thank yous to come from all of this.
Right.
And this hasn't come up, but it's unprecedented that there is a candidate running for president who hailed from our law school. Doesn't happen every day. I don't know what the school can or should do about that. Just throwing it out there. Every 4 years, 2 people from this country run for president.
But we certainly want more of our graduates to run for president in the future. Martinez can carry the title into the national spotlight. We're a public university, so we are not permitted to lobby, as you all know, or to endorse a candidate. But if you go to our webpage, you will see a very large picture of Vice President Harris. We are allowed to trumpet and applaud our successful alumni. And so we've certainly done that. We have sent out, and I don't know if many of you have seen it, a little video about the name change. And we mentioned Kamala as having gone to the school. We are making plans for November 6th to celebrate her victory.
Oh, right.
And she's no longer a candidate, so we can do whatever we want, again, to applaud one of our graduates. And then I'm doing everything I can to be invited to the inauguration. So you'll see me holding the Bible stage.
I think Doug may have that. Okay.
Yeah, we'll work on that. But we are planning to do everything we can as soon as we can. And we have been in touch with alumni who have set up their own informal alumni groups. Again, we cannot be seen to aid them, but we can put people together and say alumni can do whatever they want. They just can't do it in the name of the school. And I can't do whatever I want.
And I understand that. Yeah. I mean, I'm not looking for a partisan bent, but I think it is quite an achievement for the school. I mean, we've had now, 45 presidents, 46. lost count. I know many of them have been lawyers, but that's just a handful of law schools. So we're.
Well, I will say that although many of them have been lawyers, few like Kamala Harris have leaned into her being a lawyer,
Right.
prosecutor,
Right.
and she learned to be a prosecutor here. And so I think we can be proud of the fact that how she portrays herself and her strengths are directly attributable to her education. So we're excited about that. I'm still trying to find out. We don't have the best records from 1989, whether she was an extern for the Alameda or San Francisco DAs. If anybody can figure that out, that would be helpful to us. But she obviously went to the Alameda DA's office directly out of law school. But if we had gotten her an externship, that would be a plus for us as well. But she was the Black Law Students Association BOLSA president in her 2L year, which is actually more unusual. So she was a leader at the time.
So she was the leader.
Yeah, in fact, Judge Troy Nunley he did our convocation speech, and he told a wonderful story about he was the secretary to BOLSA when she was president, and he said that she did not hesitate to tell him to go make copies and take care of things. And he expects to be very efficient as president of the United States. So, and Troy Nunley, who we also should be very proud of, is now the chief judge of the Eastern District, United States District Court for the Eastern District of California. Troy is a very good friend at the school, has also been quite accomplished. And so whatever was in the water back then for BOLSA, very impressive group of people. So we're very proud of them.
Oh, I'm probably going to say something similar to Deborah, but I was going to say, I do think, echoing Joan's comment about this, why it's important is that when the name change happened, all of a sudden all these people came out of the woodwork asking me about it, especially because I used to work for John Briscoe, who started the whole problem. And but I was able to explain it, but then also say, hey, this is a great time to donate. This is a big deal. It's in the news. That's why I am wondering, right, if I don't want to jinx anything. I just think this is the time for each of us to send out an email the day after and say, remember when you went here? Yeah. Now you need to give. So that, it's the easy, it's a source of pride. And then it's such an easy open, it's such an easy open. Yeah. So.
Now, I will tell you, it's helping us, especially with prospective students. So Mario Lopez, who was visiting HBCUs, but he also went to the University of Georgia and did a program there. And they all knew that Vice President Harris went to our school, and we don't usually get that many applications from Georgia. It's a great football school, it's a great university, but they don't typically come to San Francisco. And he said a bunch of them were very excited at the prospect of going to school that the next president of the United States went to. So, yeah.
Well, I was just curious. I think we took out a full page ad in the Wall Street Journal when she was elected vice president.
You did.
I was very excited.
The foundation did that.
Yeah, and I think you were telling us back then that she was focusing on Howard and never mentioned UC Law San Francisco. Mm-hmm. I haven't kept up as much. Has that changed, or what inroads have we made?
It has not changed very much. We have been in touch with her staff. Her bio now says UC Law, formerly UC Hastings. And so it only said Hastings before this. So for those of you who saw Michelle Obama's speech at the National Convention, she did not mention Howard. She said that Kamala had gone to an HBCU, and she went to a law school that was a state university. So of course I'm yelling at the TV. So whoever knows Michelle Obama, please reach out. We could use that kind of attention. But yeah, we continue to work on it, and that will be. I think that when she's elected, part of it is what her narrative is, what her story is, and that's what all politicians do. So I get it. But in time, and I think again, the fact that she leads into being a prosecutor is something that that's what we train people to do. to be lawyers, and she picked being a DA, and she was extraordinarily successful at doing that. And we should get some credit for laying the foundation for her to do that. Yeah, but we're working on it. It's again.
I know it's a delicate
They
balance.
actually respond to our emails, but the answer isn't always yes. I can't quite do busy. Yeah, she is busy running around the country, at least a few states.
All right, we have one more item, and they were allotted 10 minutes, and I'm always mindful of folks who are late in the agenda getting enough time, and I'm happy to report that you have ample time.
And I won't use it all because we're going to make sure that those cards get signed before we leave the room. We're not allowed to leave the room until we've done the 5 cards, right?
Right, you're gonna bar the door, right?
And I'll also say, I think it's gonna be great when President Harris talks about her career at the law school at the commencement address. Right here. I'm sure you're working on that. Okay, so this is the Plan Giving Committee report. I co-chair it with John. This is basically John's brainchild. He started this thing years ago, and I'll report on its progress. But to replicate what Tracy said, the Legacy Society, which consists of alums who are making pledges of bequests or other gifts in the future, is having its lunch on the 26th of October. Tracy always puts together a great program. It will be her last program. You got to come. So please do attend. And if you need any information about it, talk to Tracy. It's a great event. So that's the 26th of October. Our committee, which consists of Judy Boyette and Judy Ballard and Dan Vermillion and Tom Getty and Mike Whippler and Jamal Moberly, who is off the trustees, but remained on the committee to help out, and Mike Cartmel, were all actively engaged in making calls. I'm sorry? John Lee. I'm sorry. I apologize. Yeah, there you are. And I actually wrote all the names down so I wouldn't forget, but thank you. We're all actively engaged in calling the Legacy Society members several times a year, primarily to say thank you. As Leo pointed out, it's a fun thing to do. It's a great way to connect with alumni and Legacy Society members. And if that's the kind of thing that there's always join. We're up to 149 Legacy Society members. It'd be nice to hit 150 by the end of lunch. You can do it. John has a special gift for the person who comes in at 150. It's a secret, but he's got it prepared. It's not a tie, but it's similar. We are at a known value of gifts of 36 million. We are continuing to try to find out how much more money is behind that, because many of the Legacy Society members haven't told us the value of their gifts. So if you are a Legacy Society member, but you've been shy about saying what that amount is, don't be shy. Please tell Tracy, mail it into, in a card or something if you don't want to say the number. It doesn't matter what it is. The more that we have, the better we feel about the value of that future income stream.
And I will just say that whatever number every member gives us is just reported in that macro number. So nobody's plan gift amount is listed or repeated anywhere. To report it as our combined total.
And I think the final two things I'll say is that, as we've reported in prior meetings, we've got $100,000 sitting there waiting for people to sign up as Legacy Society members at the level of 50,000 or more.
or if you want to increase your commitment to the Legacy Society by $50,000 or more. That $100,000 is a pool that you can take $10,000 out of and designate where you want it to go to one of four funds.